Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to start with the chapter Reproduction in Organism. So let's begin it. The period from birth to the natural death of an organism represents its lifespan. It varies with organisms. It may be as shorter as few days or as long as a few thousand years. Lifespan of organisms are not necessarily correlated with their sizes. The size of crows, 15 years, and parrots, 140 years, are not very different yet. Their lifespan shows a wide difference. Similarly, a mango tree 200 years has such much shorter lifespan as compared to a peepal tree 2,500 years. Whatever be the lifespan, death of every individual organism is a certainty. No individual is immortal except single-celled organisms. Let's have a look on the lifespan of different organisms. Elephant 60 to 90 years, rose 5 to 7 years, dog 25 to 30 years, butterfly 1 to 2 weeks, crows 15 years, banana tree 25 years, cow 20 to 25 years, parrot 140 years, crocodile 60 years, horse 60 years, fruit fly 2 weeks, rice plant 3 to 4 months, tortoise 100 to 150 years, and banyan tree approximately equal to 180 years. Reproduction is defined as a biological process by which an organism gives rise to young ones or offsprings similar to itself. The offsprings grow, mature, and in turn produce new offsprings. Thus, there is a cycle of birth, growth, and natural death. Reproduction enables the continuity of the species generation after generation. The genetic variation is inherited during reproduction. Each organism has evolved its own mechanism to multiply and produce offsprings. The organism's habitat, its internal physiology, and several other factors are collectively responsible for how it reproduces. Basic features of reproduction. All organisms reproduce. Modes of reproduction vary in different organisms. However, all modes have different certain common basic features. These are replication of DNA. This is the molecular basis of reproduction. Cell division, only mitotic or both mitotic and meiotic. This is cytological basis of reproduction. Formation of reproductive bodies or units. Development of reproductive bodies into offsprings. Reproduction can be categorized into two types. One is asexual reproduction, another one is sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction. When offspring is produced by a single parent with or without the involvement of gamete formation, the reproduction is called asexual reproduction. In this method, a single individual parent is capable of producing offsprings. The offsprings produced are identical to each other as well as to the parent. It is common among single-celled organisms and in plants and animals with relatively simple organisms. It is relatively simple and fast as compared to sexual reproduction. In unicellular organisms like protists and monerones, the organisms or the parent cell divides into two to give rise to a new individual. Thus, in these organisms, cell division is itself a mode of reproduction. So, here is a keynote about clones, a population of morphologically and genetically similar individuals which are obtained from the parent individual are called clones. Unicellular organisms do not show senescence or natural death. The most common modes of asexual reproduction are as follows. Fission. Binary fission. Many single-celled organisms reproduce by binary fission, where a cell divides into two halves and each rapidly grows into an adult. For example, amoeba and paramecium. This method is common in Protista and Moneras. It normally takes place under a favorable condition. On the basis of plane of division, binary fissions are of four types. Similar For example, simple binary fission. Division can take place through any plane. B. Transverse binary fission. The plane of division runs along the transverse axis of the individual. For example, paramecium and bacteria. Longitudinal binary fission. The plane of fission passes along the longitudinal axis of the individual. For example, Euglena. Oblique binary fission. The individual is divided obliquely. For example, Opalina and Goniolax. Binary fission involves mitosis only and, consequently, the resultant offsprings are genetically identical to the parent and each other. Cell division during binary fission can be mitosis in eukaryotes or amitosis in prokaryotes. Multiple fission. Under unfavorable condition, the amoeba withdraws its pseudopodia and secretes a three-layered hard covering or crust around itself. This phenomenon is termed as encystation. When favorable condition returns, the encysted amoeba divides by multiple fission and produces many minute amoeba or pseudopodiospores. The crust wall bursts out and the spores are liberated in the surrounding medium to grow up into many amoeba. This phenomenon is known as sporulation. In this method, cells of some body parts undergo repeated mitotic cell division that leads to the formation of small buds that remain attached initially to the parent, finally deattached and mature into new cell. For example, yeast. Budding is of two types, exogenous or external budding and endogenous or internal budding. So first let's discuss about the exogenous or external budding. Initially, a small outgrowth of the parent's body develops into a miniature individual. It then separates from the mother to lead a free life. This type of budding is recognized as exogenous budding, for example, Hydra. Endogenous or internal budding. In freshwater sponges and marine sponge, and the parent individual release a specialized mass of cell enclosed in a common opaque envelope called the gemule. On gemination, each gemule gives rise to an offspring. The gemules are thought to be internal buds. These types of budding are recognized as endogenous budding. For example, cycon and spongilla. Difference between binary fission and budding. Binary fission, it's equal cytokinesis, equal karyokinesis, and parent cell disappears or parent cell loses its identity. But in budding, unequal cytokinesis, equal karyokinesis, parent cell remains intact or parent cell does not lose its identity. Regeneration. It is the ability of body cells to produce lost body parts or entire body. It is the ability of body cells to regenerate the lost body parts. For example, planaria, hydra, starfish, etc. Note, planaria shows true regeneration. Fragmentation. It is the breaking up of an animal's body into two or more pieces, each of which grows into a new individual. For example, Spirogyra. It is also occurred in flatworm and Microscotinum. Asexual reproduction in plants. The common mode of asexual reproduction in plants are fission, simplest of all asexual methods, commonly found in unicellular algae. In this process, the unicellular parent cell divides mitotically to form two daughter cells that are identical to each other as well as to their parents. The division is unequal and the small buds are produced that remain attached initially to the parent cell, which eventually get separated and mature into a new organism. For example, Dicotia and Fucus. Regeneration. Due to mechanical pressure, the vegetative thallus or hyphus break down into small segments which are capable of growing into a new individual. For example, algae and fungi. In algae, we have Urothics and Spirogyra and Zinema, and in fungi, we have Mucor, Rhizopus, and Spelurginia. by means of special asexual reproductive structures. Members of the kingdom fungi and simple plants such as algae reproduce through special asexual reproductive structure or asexual spores. Zoospores are most common asexual spores in algae and they are flagellated or motile. Conidia are the most common asexual spores in fungi and they are non-flagellated or non-motile. Other common asexual reproductive structures are conidia in Penicillium, buds in Hydra, gemmules in sponges, and zoospores in Chlamydomonas. That's all for today. Hope you enjoyed it and hope you learned something new. Much love, more blessings. See you in the next video.